Ghana crash out of the ongoing World Cup tournament. What lessons have we picked up? And which country in getting into the final 16 can Ghana start learning some lessons from? Details of all of these and more coming your way for the next 30 minutes. I beg your pardon, for the next 1 hour, including business and sports. Before that, though, let's bring you the news summaries with Safwa Boaheni. Hello, Safwa.
Hi, Martin, and welcome to the news summary segment. Our first story, where work progresses on La General Hospital project despite reports of workers being laid off for lack of funds, and nearly 3 months after President Mahama pledged to revive the long-stalled La General Hospital project, there are visible signs that construction is gathering pace. Away from that, the Menchia Palace has unveiled the 15th Asante Hema on July 6, 2026. Known in private life as Nana Mabunsu, she is currently undergoing the necessary customary rites to confirm her stool name, and it's also understood that the new Queen Mother is the cousin of the late former and first mayor of Kumasi, Nana Kwesi Agyeman. Also, away from that, Donald Trump, president, confirms asking FIFA to review Balogun red card as World Cup controversy grows. United States of America President Donald Trump has confirmed that he personally requested FIFA to review the red card shown to Folarin Balogun and ending speculation over his administration's involvement in the controversial decision to lift the strikers' automatic World Cup suspension. And also to business, finance and tax analyst Nelson Kujo Kwagbezi has hailed government of Ghana's ahead of scheduled settlement of its $700 million Eurobond obligation as a major win for the country's financial landscape, predicting a swift rebound in investor sentiment. This is good news for the markets, Kwagbezi stated while reacting to the early payment. We expect investor confidence to bounce back, and we expect liquidity to be deepening, and we expect our rating to go up in subsequent ratings. So our last story, where the government, under the auspices of the Post-Flood Mitigation Committee, has declared Friday 10th July 2026 and Saturday 11th July 2026 as National General Cleaning Days in the 7 regions affected by the recent floods. Under the theme, Our Actions, Our Future, Cleaning Ghana After the Floods, this 2-day national exercise seeks to mobilize our collective duty to clean our communities, secure our environment, and safeguard lives across the country. And this is where we end our news summary segment. And over to you, Martin.
Thank you very much, Safwa, for the summaries. Let's settle for the details of the stories now. We are starting from that letter coming from the office of the President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. And the office of the President, or the President himself, clearly want the fight against the flooding in the country to, intensify. So on the back of that, they have declared Friday the 10th of July and Saturday the 11th of July as National General Cleaning Days across 7 regions affected by the devastating floods on the 29th of June. And as part of efforts to improve the sanitation and reduce the risk of future flooding, this exercise, the government says, is important, and all citizens, especially within these areas, should make it an effort to take part. The flood waters wreaked havoc, claiming some 13 lives and destroyed more than 7,000 households. A statement issued by the Minister for A statement issued by the Minister for Government Communications, Felix Kwachi Ofosu, on Monday, the 6th of July, said that this is a critical national exercise and all citizens are strongly encouraged to take part in it fully. To get a sense of what exactly the statement says, let's speak to Wisdom Safo of our research desk, who's joined us for the specific details. Wisdom, walk us through the content of the letter.
So, Martin, the dates are Friday, July 10, 2026, and Saturday, July 11, 2026. And the exercise is being carried out under the Post-Flood Mitigation Committee. So it is in response to the recent floods, as you rightly mentioned. And the main purpose is to clean up the communities, protect the environment, reduce the flood risk by removing waste and silt from drainage systems. So the main area is desilting choked drains to allow free flow of water before the heavy rains that we are expecting. So the exercise targets the 7 regions affected by the floods. They are the Greater Accra region, the Central region, Volta region, Western region, Western North region, Ashanti region, and the Eastern region. So the president has also directed all government officials to take part in this exercise personally. So these people include the ministers of state, the CEOs, members of parliament, the MMDCEs, and the head of public institution. So the government has also appointed them to lead the exercise, and they have to leave their offices, they have to pick up the tools and join the communities as they clean up their communities.
Right. I mean, it's interesting that this is coming at this time. Maybe it's because of the recent floods that the capital witnessed. But this certainly is not the first time we are having this kind of a national effort at cleaning our streets and gutters, bro.
Definitely, Martin. We can go back more than 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and go back to 2014, when this same government, the President John Dramani Mahama, first term, they declared the National Sanitation Day. So in 2014, this was introduced after a cholera outbreak, and it was declared the first Saturday of every month that it's a national day for citizens to clean their surroundings, gutters, the markets, the streets, and public spaces. And in 2014 to 2016, they continued. So they rolled out the National Sanitation 2.0. And the previous administration, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's administration as well, in November 2017, they also brought up the National Sanitation Campaign. And it was themed. There was a message, a clear message that every day is a sanitation day. So I can go on and on. Even in 2025, just last year, we also launched the National Sanitation Day. We relaunched what they brought in 2014. And it was under the Clean Up Ghana agenda. So over and over again, there have been efforts, a communal effort to mitigate these causes of the floods that we are experiencing. So it begs the question that will it always be a knee-jerk reaction? Will we always be reactive as a people? What happened to these projects that we instituted? GARID. What's happened to GARID? So Martin, there's a recent World Bank report that is stating that the reason why GARID is not getting the necessary attention or the funds is because the finance ministry brought a financial regulation that even capped it even took some money away from the GARID fund. As I speak to you, GARID was projected around 350 million Ghana cedis, the whole budget, but only 40% has been released, and the timeline is 2027. We have less than a year to complete or roll out the program, and 40% is the only amount that has been released. In fact, 60% is not released. We see, and even the contracts that we have given to the people to desilt the drains, it has been terminated. When the housing minister went to parliament, he stated that because of issues surrounding or around the project, it has been terminated, and they are now seeking approval from the finance ministry before they will award any other contract. So it's a challenge.
It's a myriad of issues.
I pray that this time around it's really effective and it actually mitigates the issue.
I mean, it also begs the question: what kind of monitoring went on when the first or the earlier campaigns were instituted?
That is another question we have to answer.
What was the plan in the first place? How was the execution done? What were the reports after they were done? And which areas did we do well? Which areas did we need to improve upon? Because to come out again with more or less like a blanket new start or a fresh start for national cleanup campaign, it raises a lot more questions than answers. But thank you for those details. Wisdom Safo of our research desk giving us an update of the statement by the Minister for Government Communication, which is declaring Friday the 10th of July and Saturday the 11th of July as National General Cleaning Days. And this exercise is expected to take place across 7 regions in the country, and it comes on the back of the June 29 floods. And I mean, for those of you who probably are still reeling from the impact of last week's floods, it's exactly a week. Come to think of it, last week, Monday, by this time, lots of people were still asking for help and calling NADMO and the other state agencies to come to their aid. My colleague Armstrong Gold Alogbe was one of the gentlemen who had been traveling across the capital, reporting on the kind of impact the floods was having on our citizens. And a week on, what is the situation like now that he's also visited a number of the places he went on that fateful day? Armstrong, thank you for your time. Which areas have you visited today? What can you report? Hello, Armstrong. Hello, Armstrong, can you hear me? We seem to be having we are not connected to Armstrong yet, or he seems not to be hearing me. But Joseph Armstrong Gold Alogbe is a man who's been following this particular development for us. Like I indicated, today is exactly 1 week since the capital, or most parts of the capital, got submerged, and we are trying to find out from Armstrong whether or not he is able to update us on where he's been and what he has seen 1 week after we had reports of people's homes, businesses, and property being overtaken by flood waters. Armstrong, let's try again. Good evening. If you can hear me, which areas have you visited? What can you report? All right, so we'll try and get a better connection to Armstrong Gold Alogbe for that report. And for those of you who were affected, if you're listening to us, do send us a message regarding where exactly you are listening to us from, what the situation was last week. At least we hope that you still have your phones and radio sets to listen to 3FM. So in case you are listening to us, which area are you listening to us from? What was the situation last week around this time? And then a week on, have you been able to get the necessary assistance from the state agencies mandated to provide these kinds of assistance? But more importantly, what do you make of the call from the President of the Republic that the 10th and 11th of July, that is coming Friday and Saturday, be declared as National General Cleaning Days? And for looking at on the face of it, it means that at least it is because of the flood experienced. So the post-flood or the after effect of the flood, the mud, the sludge, and the silt that was left behind, we all need to collectively go and try and clean up our areas and then go into the gutters, desilt them. Now, you live in that community. You know the kind of situation there. Is cleaning your gutter the best option for you? And if so, why would you not want to take part in that kind of exercise? If you've done it in time past, what were the kinds of results you achieved or your community achieved when you cleaned your gutters? And why are some of our compatriots also just being passive? You know that the cleanup exercise would benefit all of us, but you always want someone else to do it so that you benefit. Why can't it be truly communal so that we all put our shoulders to the wheel? Let's see if we can connect to Armstrong now. Armstrong, good evening once again. I hope you can hear me. I'm asking about which areas you have visited and what you can report today. Right, we do not have Armstrong on the line now, so we'll move on from there, and this time around speak to Professor This is 3FM 92.7. You're listening to Hot Edition. We're going on to the phone lines now and speak to Amma Akpene Ofori Entry. She is the Executive Secretary of the Environmental Service Providers Association. Madam, a very good evening to you. Thank you for your time.
Good evening and good evening to your listeners.
Great. To start with, I hope you are not affected badly, or at least not as bad as some people were last week around this time when the floods came in.
Unfortunately, my neighborhood was affected.
Oh, sorry about that, but I hope the situation has improved as of today that you are speaking.
We are working on it.
Right. And to start with, what would your initial assessment be of the national cleanup campaign that has been launched by the president, the National General Cleaning Days, which is the 10th and 11th of July? What do you make of this call by the president that we all need to come out as a country to undertake this exercise?
Thank you. I think His Excellency's announcement or action that he's asked us to take as Ghanaians, it's in the right direction. However, I will humbly want to put it out there that the way the waste management has been exposed, the way the sector has been so weakened, and the rain exposed the shortfalls in terms of waste management, we cannot use 2 days to clear the debris. It's impossible. We need to come out with a proper intervention. So I'm humbly pleading to His Excellency. We need to intervene properly and do it in such a way that there will not be disease outbreaks and what have you. Because currently, as we speak, even if we put the debris together, where are we sending them to? What are we going to do with it? We are hauling all the way to Adipa. How many times can we go to Adipa and come back? And as I keep saying, in waste management, the best time for us to do it will be in the night, to haul and then send to the final disposal. With the kind of debris that we have now, I don't think even treatment is an option. So haulage would be haulage to the final disposal site is the only option that we have. We need to do a lot of distilting and use excavators to remove the refuse from some of the drains that are blocked, the choked gutters. It's a lot of work, and it requires, even if you want to do it properly, it will take us about a month. It does, even if we are working consistently on a daily basis. Unless, of course, I don't know what magic we are expecting, but if we want to do the right thing, it requires at least a month to do it and do it properly. So 2 days
certainly not enough, but at least you would say that is a step in the right direction, right?
There's a disaster. So obviously we need to see ourselves doing something.
And a number of analysts have also said that the situation we experienced last week was more than just issues of environmental uncleanliness or the lack of proper maintenance of our environment. Would you agree to that? What percentage would you adduce to the fact that the citizens themselves have not been helpful in keeping the environment or their surroundings clean?
Absolutely. There are other factors that led to the flooding, such as the having structures in the waterway, and then the engineering bits. And even one key thing that I'm surprised a lot of people haven't talked about is the construction of the roads. I'm not an expert, But you see the way all the corridors have been dug. Under Pioneer Road has been dug. Volta has been dug. Kumasi Sound Road, Taswa. The road construction going on. Taswa, all those things have contributed to what is happening. So the engineering and then the structural infrastructure that we need in place is also key. And then the removing the structures that have blocked the storm gutters, the drains, the waterways that we have structures that have been built into all those things have contributed. So we need to have a holistic approach to resolving the problem this time round, and not always the knee-jerk solutions. It will not help us as a country. Right now, the money that we are going to use to even solve the immediate disaster is so expensive. So why wouldn't we use that money to do the prevention? You see, so we keep saying that the way we speak daily, that is how waste management is. Every human being generates at least 0.5 kg of waste daily. In Accra, it's between 0.2 to 8, 0.2 to 0.8. So when we strive, we can just say 5. So multiply that by the population of Accra. So we should have a proper plan in place. Once population is growing and people's lifestyle are changing, gone are the days that we did more of organic. But right now, everything is fast food, fast that. Yeah. So we have a lot of recyclables, a lot of things all over the place that is not helping the environment. Okay. And you see, if you don't take good care of nature, nature has a way of taking care of itself, and that's exactly what has happened to us as a country.
Right. I thank you for your thoughts and perspective you bring to this conversation. Ama Akpene Ofori Entry. Thank you.
Thank you too.
And she's the Executive Secretary of the Environmental Service Providers Association of Ghana. And we are staying on the subject matter. This time around, let's bring in Professor Benedicta Yaira Fosumenta. She's with the Institute for Environmental and Sanitation Studies. Madam, Prof, good evening. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, and good evening to our cherished listeners.
Right. The President of the Republic has declared National Cleanup Days, which is the 10th and 11th of July. Some say it is a repetition of similar exercises we've had in time past with no clear results or tangible results for us to see. How do you assess this new dates or this new proposition by government about a cleanup?
Okay, thank you very much. I must commend the government for the initiative that on the 10th and the 11th, we all come out to clean our environment. But having said that, that is just a one-time initiative. When we talk about waste management, it goes beyond that. But I will first want to acknowledge that initiative. Yes, there are a lot of waste in places that they are not supposed to be. So that day is to help us to bring out this waste. But having said that, waste management is a shared responsibility. Government has a role to play, and citizens also have a role to play. And for us to effectively manage our waste, we need to use what we refer to as the, I would say, 3R or R3. That is reducing our waste, reuse, and then also recycle. Now, when you study or look at the statistics or characteristics of our waste that we generate generally, we have about 60% of the waste being organic. And we have between 14 to 16% being plastic. So if we are able to sort out organic, which is composed of about 60% of waste, then it means we are a chunk of the waste that we ordinarily would have sent to landfill sites. So you can imagine if we sort out our waste, we sort out 60% which are organic, and then we have about 16% of, let's say 14% being plastic. We would have at least saved the landfill site from sending almost 74% of the waste that we send there. Then that would have ordinarily increased the lifespan or the time of use of these landfill sites that we have or dotted around. Now, when you look at waste management generally or currently, you would realize, I think, on a few occasions, I've seen this tricycle, line up in very long queue trying to dump their waste. Mm-hmm. And what we see that most of these tricycle operators, sometimes out of frustration, in the night or middle of the night, they just collect waste they've collected from homes of people. They just dump them, sometimes the pedestrian walkway or just in a bush somewhere and go away. We cannot manage waste sustainably by the practices that we carry out recently, where we mix everything and go and dump them at the landfills. Now, currently in Accra, we all know that we are having challenge with even dump sites, where a lot of the dump sites are being
and that is one of the concerns a number of citizens are already raising about this campaign being introduced by the government. In time past, we've had similar ones. I can at least safely say that based on what you do and where you sit, you would have better understanding of the space, the environmental and sanitation space, than the lay Ghanaian. How would you assess those previous exercises, and which areas can we build up on? We'll come and talk about the landfill sites and the non-availability of landfill or places to dump these garbage or rubbish when we collect them. But what is your assessment of the previous exercises of the former NDC government, the current NDC government, the MPP government as well, and the citizens' attitude towards cleanup?
Yes, I think previous governments have tried to educate the public as far as waste management is concerned, like this current government is doing same. This current government have initiated the issue of sanitation day, where everybody goes to clean his or her compound and his frontages. But you see, sanitation management or waste management goes beyond one-day cleanup exercise. It should be a part of our life. It should be a part of what every day what we do. And that is why I'm saying that until we acknowledge and use the 3R principle, it will be very difficult to manage the waste, because the population is increasing. Our lifestyle has changed over the years. And so naturally, the volume of waste we generate on daily basis is increasing almost on daily basis, because the population is increasing. So until we begin to practice what we call reducing waste, and we can reduce waste by sorting out waste. And as I said, if we are able to just sort out organic and plastics, we would have been able to reduce waste by almost 74%, which means that you would just send about 26% waste to the dump site. And that would invariably help solve a lot of issues of waste management. And so we need to do a lot of public education as far as waste sorting or sorting as source is concerned. People need to appreciate the fact that we should not mix everything together. At least organic and plastic should be separated. Organic can be used for compost, plastic can be recycled. And we talk about reuse. There are certain waste or certain materials, they are just material in transition. It can't be reused. And I'm happy, when I heard that EPA is banning
Styrofoam.
these food packages.
Yes, the styrofoam. The takeaway packs.
At least that would again reduce some amount of usage of these material within the country. And invariably, I pray that as time goes on, we need to look at plastic generally. At least some countries have done it, and it's so beautiful. You go to a country like Rwanda, when you come in, any plastic that you have to leave it at the airport. It's not allowed in the country. And we can also do that. Yeah. So we need a lot of education when it comes to waste sorting, waste sorting or sorting of waste. For me, I think that we can overcome this issue of or challenge of waste management by using the 3R principle. Reduce our waste. We need to reuse some of the materials and then also recycle. So yes, it's a good initiative that we have National Sanitation Day. But what happened after that day? Right. It is important that Ghanaians know that waste management is a shared responsibility. Government has a role to play, and citizens also has a role to play. If you're a citizen and it's raining and you collect your waste and dump into the drain with the hope that the water will carry it away, you should know that definitely the water will end somewhere and that waste will end somewhere. So we have a role to play. Certainly. And I will say that we need to do a lot of education, waste management. Maybe should our curriculum from the primary school, there should be that conscious effort to do a lot of campaign. Let the people know the implication of not managing waste effectively. What happened 29th June? Waste management contributed to some extent. Whilst we talk about, yes, climate change has come to stay and climate change has its impact, and what we are seeing in terms of increase in intensity of rainfall being part of the impact of climate change that we've always be talking about. But to some large extent, waste or not managing our waste effectively also contributed to some impacts that we observe.
Absolutely. And I think that it's one thing that as a country we have either decided not to face head on or decided to dance around it, because I was fortunate to stay or school abroad, and the sorting of waste is basic for almost every university that at least I entered. There is a plastic bin, and then there is a general waste bin. And that in itself, like you're saying, is important to reducing the amount of waste we produce. Maybe this 10th and 11th July exercise should be one of the platforms government should use or can use to educate the public about the need to sort our waste, because general people or the regular Ghanaian does not understand why they should put plastic in a different waste bin and maybe bottles and other general waste. So the bit about public education is very important. But how about the number of days? Do you think this should be a continuous exercise, or the 2-3 days government has named should be enough?
Well, as I said, it's a good initiative, but 1, 2, 3 days is not enough, to deal with issue of management, issues of waste management, and also change of our behavior or behavioral attitude towards waste or handling of waste. We need a lot of education, and that is why I said it should not just be education in terms of maybe radio campaign or whatever, creating a platform, but it should also be part of our curriculum, where even at the primary school, at the kindergarten, children are taught that what we refer to waste is just material in transition. We need to educate people about the 3R principle or R3 principle, where we say, let's reduce our waste. So if you have organic, then there should also be that conscious effort by every institution to provide bins. So if you go to an institution and just one bin that is there, even though an individual may want to practice the reduce, reuse, and recycle principle. You may not have a bin. There should be that conscious effort that, look, we need to provide at least 3 bins, one for organic, the other one for plastic, and then maybe the third one for general waste. And when it comes to University of Ghana, I think we are trying to do something like that. So if you go to some department, you will see some bins. Students have come out with some initiatives, and you have been sorted around with some inscription that, yes, this should be for plastic, or for your bottle, this should be for waste, and then you have another one for other waste. So there should be some conscious effort. Maybe government should enforce that every government department or institution should have at least 3 bins. So that we start it from there, and then send this to our community, educate the people. Because until we do this, we cannot manage the waste. And that's why, as you rightly indicated, when you go to the Western world, they have these at least 3 bins where they tell you that this is for organic, this is for bottles, and this is for plastic, and then the other one for any other waste. Until we do something like that, we are not really coming up with an innovation, but this is what they are doing, and it's working for them. And we also need to look at that. So there should be a lot of education.
Thank you.
Lot of 1 or 2 days cannot work as a country. But it's something that we need to discuss over and over. We need to have a campaign, national campaign about waste management, especially sorting out of waste.
Madam, thank you so much for your time and your expert opinion on this subject.
Thank you for having me.
Right, and that is Professor Benedicta Yayira Fosu-Mensah. She's with the Institute for Environmental and Sanitation Studies at the University of Ghana, reiterating a call that many have already been talking about, which is that we as a country or as citizens need to start sorting our waste. I mean, this is probably just an aside, and I mean, I remember upon my return to Ghana, I made it a point that at least I'll start from my home, where I'm putting plastics aside and putting general waste aside. Over time, the system sort of swallows you, so you lose track of that deliberate effort you are putting in to sort plastic from other waste, and then you end up with the same system that we are trying to correct. But generally, as a people, we need to start paying attention to that, because there's even money in waste, where if you are able to sort out enough plastics, some of these companies will come and buy them. The boys who walk around, we call them Koliba, they will come around and pay for those plastics you may see as waste, and that could be some return to you and saving the environment as well. But the conversation is still on 3FM 92.7 on our various social media platforms. You're listening to Hot Edition, and our big conversation this evening starts from the Office of the President, where government has declared 2 days for a national cleanup exercise, the 10th and 11th of July, and it is especially on the back of the June 29 rains and the flooding. We need to collectively as a people come out and clean the waste that has been left behind by the floods. And by extension, like the president's statement said, clean the gutters and allow the waters to flow. But more importantly, that there's an anti-flood task force led by one of the military officers. What they intend to do is to ensure that district assemblies and departments and agencies all follow a specific set of guidelines in reducing waste and ensuring that the environment is clean enough, and make sure flooding does not cause the kind of havoc it caused on the 29th of June. Your thoughts are important, and we always love to hear from you, so do send them to us on our Facebook page and on our YouTube channel, where we are streaming this bulletin, and we'll be happy to share it with the rest of the world. And still to come this evening, it is not only waste we are talking about. There are concerns rising in the Upper East region over what some lawyers have described as extrajudicial killings by the police officers in that part of the country. What exactly is happening? We'll be digging into that for you. And at the tail end of the show, we'll dissect the performance of the Black Stars at the ongoing World Cup. Yes, they have crashed out, but people are saying if the big names like Germany and Brazil have crashed out, I mean, what is Ghana crying about? But the football lovers in this country say a lot more needs to be done, and the correction has already started. What are your thoughts and contributions? Do send it to us. We'll be happy to let the world know about it. This is 3FM. Stay with us. We'll be back with more. .7 is the dial. This is 3FM. We're shifting our attention to some other stories we have for you this evening. And a Ramsar site, still on the related subjects to the first one, a Ramsar site and a water retention basin at Malam Junction in the Greater Accra region is being filled with waste and significant portions being developed barely a year after President Mahama ordered authorities to restore the wetlands. What appears to be unauthorized development on the wetlands is causing severe havoc and flooding in that area and is crippling the natural flood retention capacity of the area. My colleague Christian Yali visited the place first of all to speak to those who've been affected by the flooding that happened on the 29th of June last week, and also how they are recouping after that exercise. Let's listen to him in this
My
report.
visit to the area after the June 29 heavy floods show ongoing construction works and walls being erected. Buildings have been built and active works ongoing close to the base of the Malam interchange, which is seen holding significant amount of water. Drone shots obtained show tricycles dumping waste around the Makati area, and the part of the Ramsar site is affected.
Ramsar site is not meant for development. Effect near too much. Authorities and as a more we are concerned, say also maybe be found into a one more minor and
In the Malam town, a house close to the transport station went viral after the torrential rains flooded a compound house almost to the rooftop. A week later, I visited the area where residents are still struggling to bounce back.
Me trap force be de 3 days and I call 3 base na me buy me 5 bill me and some straight dress and knickers ba ko na call 4 nti me be try no 2 days with pepper and nsuo na ye den na nsuo ne buy na etwe na call.
And so you heard some of the affected victims of last week's floods in the capital. Let's shift to what has become another major issue of concern that has to do with security, and the Africa Center for Security and Counter-Terrorism has called on the Upper East chapter of the Ghana Bar Association to exercise restraint in its commentary on police operations in the region. The center describes as worrying the naming of a serving officer in active operations. In a statement, the executive director of the center, Emmanuel Kuting, said that decisive police action is needed to keep law and order in the region and defends the IGP's initiative to deploy a special task force to deal with crime in the region. And Mr. Kuting has joined us on the line for a quick conversation. A very good evening to you, sir. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me, and very good evening to your cherished listeners.
Right. you are saying that the Bar Association in the Upper East region, by coming out publicly to name a police officer, following the death of some citizens, is worrying. Why so? Why do you describe it as worrying?
Well, let me put this in a better context. You realize that the conflict in Boko had brought some spillovers where criminals have taken grounds to perpetrate crime on law-abiding citizens. You remember some time ago, broad daylight in Bolga, you hear Momo vendors were shot dead, and people could not go about their duties peacefully. So the IGP launched the Black Maria team, and they were able to restore law and order. So on one of such operations, they arrested a suspect who stole a motorbike. And then, unknown to the armed robbers, they didn't know there was a tracker on that motorbike. So the police tracked the motor and arrested 4 people and 2 fled. And that was the exact time there were complaints by certain individuals of extrajudicial killings in Bolga. And as an organization at that time, we raised a voice that under no circumstances should anybody be killed in government custody. So fast forward, the IGP deployed this officer, the Bar Association name, who doesn't belong to the PID. You know, the Black Maria is from the PID, but the name officer is from the CID. He's the director of ops of the CID as a professional to go and investigate the claims of the extrajudicial killing. So during those investigations, when these 4 were arrested, he directed that they should bring them to Accra to him, because he didn't want any form of accusation where they would say that they take them into custody and they are killed. And what he did was to promptly put them before the law court. And that's the proper thing to do. The lawyer in question is the lawyer of these alleged armed robbers. He requested for bail from this said officer, and the officer said no. So in a solemn event, like the remembrance of the killings of those high court judges, I feel it was not the right platform to make these unsubstantiated allegations. So as a security policy think tank, we felt that there was the need to come out and set the record straight. And if you look at our presser, we praise the IGP for being on the side of people or of the people and restoring law and order. And you can bear with me that for some time now you don't hear any form of armed robbery in the Bolga Township. Secondly, we thought that a lawyer of his caliber, you don't just compromise the safety of 7 officers in that manner. It's very dangerous. And what we know is that lawyers and police work hand in hand in the laws enforcement arena,
right?
Because they have a solemn vow to uphold the sanctity of the court.
Okay.
And this is the place the police officer has sent the culprits to. So I don't know why he's doing what he's doing.
Okay, so let me, and for lack of time, I want to be brief on this. Let me also bring in the Upper East Regional President of the Ghana Bar Association, Mr. Anthony Namu. Good evening. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, and good evening to your cherished listeners.
Yes.
Good evening to Kutin.
Yes, the concern being raised is that I'm sure you've heard him. So why would you publicly put out an officer like that? That could be a threat to him.
First of all, I have to put on record that I'm not defending any armed robbery case, and went for bail and I was refused. Kutin, we know ourselves from the 90s when he came to Notre Dame when I was a student there. So we're all students. So it's unfortunate that he didn't get them. How did the name of the police come in? We had, in our speech on that day, we had praised the work of the main investigator, Chief Superintendent Jacob Jebuni-Dana, for the work they did 44 years ago. And that investigation in the police service is regarded as one of the best by the police. So in the speech, we also pray for law enforcement and for security. The officer he's talking about is from Upper East Region. His deputy are from Upper East Region. Now, the people who are killed is not like one person or two. It started from the 30th of January, and we are talking about 8, and there are others that are unidentifiable. So the issue has to do with the fact that if 44 years ago, an investigation could be done with and such a manner that it brought a result, how come that in 21st century Ghana, with CCTV cameras, mobile phones, and trackers, such a thing would not be done, and people are suspected and they are eliminated? And it's a source of concern. He can say we have blown somebody's cover, but there are a majority of people who are wailing and crying silently because their loved ones have been executed and they have not had any opportunity of going to court. So to say that I applied for bail and I was refused and I brought my case out there, it is far from the truth. I don't know the last time I handled robbery case in the region. So, but this is a concern, and on that occasion, it's important to praise the police, but it's also important to draw their attention.
So what progress have you made since you were denied the bail and addressing the media? What's the next line of action? What do you intend to do?
No, we're not addressing the media. We were observing the 44th anniversary of the murder of the 3 High Court judges.
Okay.
And so I chip it in that, yes, the police are praised for the work they've done. We pray God that they are able to do law enforcement and security. However, this is what is disturbing us in the region.
Okay.
They should arrest people, but they should go through due process.
Okay.
And we also made a point that when you arrest somebody in the Upper East and he's arranged for court in Accra, he has to be traveling long distances. That is the reason why there are courts in the region. Why will you bring the cases to Accra, making it very, very expensive? Accra is not easy to live in. And some people, by the very size of the traffic, they cannot survive the system. So that is the prayer that we made. And I think that it was appropriate. We were only calling on the IGP to review the work of his men and his men in the circumstance.
Okay.
We are not condemning the IGP. We are saying that he should review the work of Ananga and Co. And they are our kinsmen.
Okay.
And they are our living pain.
Because of
And
time, we'll have to
them.
leave it here for now. But thank you for bringing this very topical issue to the attention of the general public. And hopefully we'll be able to get some headway or make some headway regarding that. This is 3FM 92.7. You're listening to Hot Edition, and we are going to be talking football now. The World Cup is currently still ongoing. The Black Stars of Ghana were knocked out by Colombia over the weekend. Today, a number of games are expected. Will be live on TV3 and on 3FM. But joining me in studio now is Ore Kwampafo, who was in the US, followed the Black Stars, saw them train, saw them play, and eventually they are back to their bases. Are they back home with you, Oreku? You are back home in Ghana. Are the players back in Ghana as well?
So when a tournament ends, I mean, it depends on your personal itinerary or plan for the summer. Some clubs have already started pre-season already, and some would love to go to their clubs. You know, some don't really have family here. Some of the diasporan players who switch nationality. Someone like Inaki is back in Spain and is actually already with his club. Okay. Some would love to go on vacation in another country. So it depends. You just tell the team manager where you want to go to, and then they book a flight for you.
They sorted it out. But you know, we've seen how the likes of Cape Verde were received when they go home. Would Ghanaians have turned up like that for the Black Stars?
Nah,
do you think?
I doubt. And it's the thing is, if you look at the history of Ghana and what we achieved at the World Cup, there was a time where 2006 Ghana was in round of 16, 2010 they got to the quarterfinals, probably should have got to the semifinals, they came really close. And so, I mean, if Ghanaians are to applaud anything, it should be a semi-final or something close to a quarterfinal. So I don't think a round of 32 would have got too many people off their seats.
Would you assess and say Ghanaians were overly expectant, especially knowing the crop of players and the time we gave the manager who had freshly probably now seeing some of the boys for the first time going into such a major tournament? Would you say we had too much, or we're expecting too much as supporters?
Expectations for me is always dynamic, and people who follow the team, invest in the team, have every right to change the expectation as and when the tournament goes on. The truth is, heading into the tournament, the odds were against Ghana. Part of the least ranked countries going to the tournament, had only changed coaches a couple of months before. The team was already in transition, hadn't qualified for the World Cup. But when you start your tournament and you beat Panama and you draw against England, fans then have the right to believe. And so from then on, you have to carry that different expectation along. And look, Ghana were heavily beaten in the round of 16 stage against Brazil in 2006. But everyone held their head up high because of the performance.
Yeah.
And it felt as if Ghana gave their all on the day. The big question was, Ghana just didn't feel like or come across as a team that knew what was at stake against Colombia. There was never a point where they put their bodies on the line, threw everything that they had in there. And before the match, Jordan mentioned that they're going to leave everything on the field and make sure they make Ghana and Africa proud. It didn't feel like that. And I think that's the difference. It's not really about the scoreline, but the fact that they didn't even play a shot on target, they never really went into 50-50s like they wanted to win it. And that's what fans look at. At the end of the day, it should be about the performance. Nobody expected Ghana to beat Colombia.
Yeah.
But did you give your best?
Okay.
I don't think they did.
Okay. Two final questions, then we wrap this up. So what next for the Black Stars?
I think with regards to fixtures, the next match is against Cote d'Ivoire, who 2023 Africa Cup of Nations champions, had a very impressive and underwhelming World Cup, just like Ghana as well. Yeah. Got to the knockout round for the first time in their history, but probably should have done better. I think it will be a difficult game away at Abidjan. As to whether who will be the coach, we cannot confirm now.
And that was actually going to be my last question. Yeah. Has Carlos Queiroz exited? Has he resigned? Or the English he wrote, we all don't understand it.
No, so the thing is, there's no way you can convince anyone that a coach whose contract expires in August before Ghana will play again. The only condition for his contract to be extended to 2 years was if Ghana got to the quarterfinal stage of the World Cup. Ghana were at least 2 matches away from that. It wasn't even close. But there was the potential of a negotiation. I mean, it's man to man, it's human beings. And so there will be a need for the coach to send a technical report after the tournament, and they'll meet the ministry, they'll meet the FA. These decisions in Ghana go through different levels. And so from the sources that we spoke to close to the GFA, they found out about the statement on WhatsApp and say they were quote-unquote shocked by the statement. The reason why they were shocked is that you don't need to do high-level English in university to understand the direction of this message. The key thing for me is he says that, to my president and board, thank you so much for the opportunity to serve the Ghana national football team. It was an honor. It was.
Past.
He never said it is an honor. Clearly, all indications are pointing to the fact that he's going. He's leaving. And even if he's not leaving, he will be gone in August.
Yes.
There's no point in him he doesn't plan on coming back to Ghana. Ghana play next in September. It was a short-term deal.
So he probably will know all of that as in the next fixtures we have, and the fact that we have an AFCON a few months away and we'll have to start playing qualifiers, etc.
Yeah.
If he has that in mind, and looking at the wording of his letter, would you say the FA officials probably broached the subject of an extension, since he signed only a 4-month contract? Could that have come up? Maybe behind the scenes they've hinted that we would want you to stay on after the World Cup, or we don't want you. Could that have come up, you think?
I think it's honestly very premature. And as I mentioned, usually after a tournament, you want to come back, reflect. You usually write a report about 40, 50 pages, summarizing what happened, what went wrong, what can be improved. And then from there, all the stakeholders, including governments, the FA, sit down to deliberate what should be the next steps. And so everything feels very premature. But his stance is probably just saying that I think personally he's not even interested in staying beyond this. And this is just to guard his own space. And I'll be surprised if he stays beyond, because think about it. He's the one who's going to be unemployed. If not for anything, he should be calmer and to be more positive with his message, to look forward and hope that he gets an extension. But to already say thank you and it was an honor, and already advising the FA on how they need to improve they're off the pitch and all of that. It feels like someone who is not even too happy with how things went. But I'm sure we'll get more details much later
in the coming days.
Yeah, in the coming days as well.
Thank you very much, Uru Kwampofo, and a warm welcome back to the GH. In fact, it was warmer there, I'm told.
It depends on which parts of the country you were.
Okay, thank you very much. Uru Kwampofo is with 3 Sports. Just returned from the World Cup, and so the rest of the monitoring will be done here back home, and I would update you going forward. Like I indicated, the game between Portugal and Spain will be live on 3FM 92.7 and also live on TV3, so you want to make a date and follow that game. My name is Martin Esidudati. That's how we bring the bulletin to an end. Thank you very much for listening. Do have a pleasant evening.